Hello everybody, it's iCould2744 here today with another Talk About video. We're going to be talking about whether or not there will be an iPod Touch 5th generation, considering the fact that last year we did not see an updated model. All we saw was a refresh, in which a lot of people said that's the iPod Touch 5th generation. It was not, it was just a refresh. In that case, there wasn't one last year, which there should have been one if they were going to stick to their yearly thing. And then, people are still saying, September 2012, that's the time the iPod Touch 5th generation will be released. But those are the people that don't realize that one did not come out last year, and they wouldn't just skip a year at random. Now, if you look at the iPod sales overall, you got to look at Apple and tell yourself, where are all the other iPods being produced and being developed? Why aren't they making any of the other iPods? They're not doing that because of the fact that the other iPods, their sales are declining, and they declined super duper fast since the iPod Touch came out. Now, the iPod Touch consumed over 50% of all iPod sales last year, and I'm assuming it's even higher this year already. And you have to look at it, the iPod Touch is dominating the iPod category, and there probably won't be any other iPods like iPod Nanos and stuff like that. Now, there might be, that is a possibility, but I don't see those going on for that much longer, considering the fact that if it's not going to sell, Apple's not going to be continuing making them. That is their company. They don't make stuff that doesn't sell. They're going to be making stuff that can sell, and if it doesn't sell, they're going to stop making it. Now, basically, with that, the iPod Touch, it consumes over 50% of the whole iPod's market, but the way you have to look at it is a ton of people are taking the iPod Touch and they're pushing it out of their way and going out to get an iPhone because they want it to become their phone as well. And there's also been rumors that the Apple will be launching an iPad mini, and that totally makes sense. Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, New York Times, they've all been saying this. They've come out source over source over source over source saying that there will be an iPad mini. Now, if there's going to be an iPad mini, it's going to be in the $200 price range. Why would they have an iPod Touch $200 or possibly even more coming out that is the same exact price as an iPad mini? Because basically, if you look at it, where's the iPod Touch? Where is it fitting in? Where is it competing? What category? Phones, probably not that much. Tablets, probably not that much as well. So why wouldn't they just ditch the iPod Touch? To be honest, this is me completely being honest, and I know a lot of you guys are huge fans of the iPod Touch, and you're really looking forward to an iPod Touch 5th generation, but if you look at the facts and you look at the sales, you can tell that Apple, it is very possible, considering the fact that they did skip a year of updating the device, which they normally never would have done if the device continued to sell. You got to look at it and tell yourself, you can't honestly look at the sales and say for a fact that there will be an iPod Touch 5th generation in September or the fall area, or possibly even released alongside of the iPhone 5th generation. Now, we know there's going to be an iPhone 5th generation because that would sell very, very well. Their iPhones are continuing to sell better and better and better, or they're saying at a steady pace. They're not losing sales whatsoever on the iPhone. So there's going to be a next generation iPhone, obviously. Now, for the iPad, there's going to be a next generation iPad because it is the #1 tablet out there. Now, for the lower-end tablet market, we do need a space put in there with Apple, because right now Google and other platforms are dominating that with the Nexus 7 tablet and stuff like that. So basically, what Apple's going to do, what I think they're going to do, is definitely release an iPad mini. It's been talked about by Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, New York Times, and when all three of those sites, which are usually the sites, by the way, that receive first news about Apple events and Apple products being released and stuff like that, when they say that, usually it's going to happen. That's usually what happens. Now, we also have not heard any talk about the iPod Touch 5th generation since last year. At the beginning of last year, some people were talking about a 128GB model of the iPod Touch being released alongside of the iPhone 4S or iPhone 5, which it ended up being the iPhone 4S, and we did not see an iPod Touch 5th generation. We saw a simple refresh, which was not the next generation, and I honestly, the way I'm looking at it right now is the iPod sales are declining. Yes, the iPod Touch it makes up over 50% of the whole iPod sales, and the reason being is because all the iPods are going down, but the iPod Touch is still the best-selling iPod. But what's the point of having that? Because the minute they release a smaller tablet, people are going to buy that because that's going to be $200. Why would you release a smaller device that also costs $200 unless there's a whole new purpose to it, which, if Apple decided to take on mobile gaming and they decided to actually do something with, specifically based on gaming, maybe that would be the next generation of iPod Touch. But honestly, I don't see a future for it, considering the sales, considering the fact that nobody's talking about it anymore, considering the fact that they missed a year, and also considering the fact that where is it competing in? It's not competing in the tablets, it's not competing in the phones, it's really not competing in any market here, and if anything, it's slowing tablet sales market. So why wouldn't they, if they're going to release a tablet in the $200 price range, which is very, very likely to happen later on this year, why would they have an iPod Touch that costs the same exact price but smaller? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So honestly, I'm saying there isn't going to be an iPod Touch 5th generation. That's my opinion. Nothing is confirmed at this time. You might think that there will be an iPod Touch 5th generation. Keep your hopes up. Whatever happens is whatever happens. They might decide to make one. Who knows? But right now, looking at all the information, looking at all the statistics, looking at all the sales, it's definitely pointing towards the fact that there will not be an iPod Touch 5th generation. Now that kind of sucks because I want one. But on the other hand, I'm waiting for the iPhone 5 as well, so it doesn't really matter to me. But if you are a diehard iPod Touch user, you're probably telling yourself, next September they're going to have one, or this September they're going to have a next generation iPod Touch right before Christmas, and it's going to sell like crazy. It might still sell, but I will tell you this right off the bat, if they're going to be releasing an iPad mini that costs the same price as an iPod Touch, why make both devices? Now, the iPad mini, we know for a fact, will compete against the market. It'll compete against the cheaper tablet market, which they do need a competitor in the cheaper tablet market because the iPad does not compete in that market much at all because it is a more expensive tablet, so they're going to need something cheaper. So either the iPod Touch is going to become the iPad mini, or the iPad mini is going to exist without the iPod Touch. That's basically my opinion on the whole fact of whether or not there will be an iPod Touch 5th generation.